45 closed out the old year by reprising a selection of his most familiar falsehoods and put in a few of his predecessors' accomplishments in his own win column. A look at some of his rhetoric on impeachment, the economy, and more before developments in Iraq shadowed the week's holiday-flavored flow. Okay, now, we're going to talk about the economy here. 45 posted, "We had the best economic year, I think, in our country's history." This is his remarks to reporters on Tuesday. The White House said that 45's pro-growth policies have led to an economic boom that has lifted up Americans of all backgrounds. Bullshit. News release Tuesday promoting 3 years of squatting in the White House. The facts are, these are exaggerated boasts. The economy is not the best ever. It has failed to grow to the extent that 45 has promised. While the United States has enjoyed more than a decade of expansion that has created positive momentum during the 45 era, growth has not eclipsed the 3% repeatedly promised by the squatter and members of his administration. The national economy is healthy, but it has not been as robust as 45 said he would produce. Excuse me. In the late 1990s, growth topped 4% for 4 straight years, a level has not reached on an annual basis under 45. Growth reached 7.2% in 1984 under Reagan. The economy grew 3% in 2018, the same pace it reached in 2015 under then President Barack Obama, and it has not hit a historically high growth rate. 45 criticized Obama during the 2016 campaign for failing to deliver growth above 3%, only to fall short himself, despite White House estimates that the 2017 tax cuts would achieve lasting growth at roughly that level. 45 thinks that, he says, "I think we can go to 4, 5, and maybe even 6%. We're really going to start to rock." Annual growth instead averaged about 2.4% for the first 9 months of last year. That's down from 2.9 in 2018. Many of the figures cited by the White House reflect the continuation of a recovery that began before 45 became squatter, instead of 45's administration policies. One of my greatest honors was to have gotten choice approved for our veterans. Others have tried for decades and failed. That was a tweet that he posted on Tuesday, the 55's most frequent fabrications of 2019. It was Obama who actually approved the Veterans Choice Program, which gives veterans the option to see private doctors inside the Department of Veterans Affairs medical system, all government expense. Congress approved the program in 2014, and Obama signed it into law. 45 only just expanded it. He did not approve it. White House. 45 had signed the Veterans Affairs Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act to ensure VA employees are held responsible for poor performance. This was a news release Tuesday promoting his first 3 years of squatting in the White House. The facts are, that's not a complete portrait of his record. The new law has failed in its core mission of protecting whistleblowers who reported potential harm to veterans, according to a government watchdog. A report released in October by the VA Inspector General found that the Accountability Office established under the 2017 law did not consistently conduct sound and unbiased investigations and may not have protected identities of whistleblowers reporting wrongdoing. It had said that the office had significant deficiencies such as poor leadership, shoddy training of investigators, and a failure to push out underperforming senior leaders. Just one senior manager out of the 8,000 employees fired by VA had been removed by an office created to help keep senior level managers accountable, according to the findings by the Inspector General. The VA acknowledged many of the findings and said it was working to make changes. On impeachment, 45, an investigation that was illegally started, which it was not illegal, though the witch hunt is sputtering badly, but still going on. Ukraine hoax. If this had happened to another candidate who was a Democrat, everybody involved would long ago be in jail for treason and more, and it would be considered the crime of the century. The fact is, 45 is as typical as loose in accusing his political rivals of treason and then placing his predicament in the League of Mass Murderers, Terrorism, and other grotesque events meriting consideration as crimes of the century. Aside from that hyperventilation, though, what to make of his claim is that he was investigated legally. The Justice Department Inspector General's report that 45 and his allies cite in his defense found serious performance failures up the chain of command in the conduct of the Bureau's investigation into ties between Russia and the 45 campaign. It harshly criticized the FBI for how it went about eavesdropping on a former campaign aide and cited a host of other problems. The Bureau says it has taken dozens of steps to fix some of its most fundamental operations as a result. Yet the report found that the FBI was justified in opening this investigation, and it did not find evidence that the Bureau had acted with political bias, a conclusion at odds with 45's insistence that he's the victim of a witch hunt, which he's not. Similarly, he's trying to play the victim, but he's not a victim. Similarly, there is no illegal takeover afoot in the impeachment matter. Democrats are following the process laid out in the Constitution, which gives the House sole power to impeach a squatter, which it did. The Senate will then conduct the impeachment trial. 45 in the House's vote last month to impeach him. What the Democrats did in the House was a disgrace. No, what you're doing, 45, is a disgrace. What they did, how unfair it was. We didn't get lawyers. We didn't have witnesses. Remarks Tuesday. The fact is that this is a distortion. In the House proceedings, Democrats in the House Judiciary Committee that drafted the articles of impeachment invited 45 lawyers to take part and ask for witnesses, which they did not do. The witnesses who did come forward were questioned by Republicans in the committee as well by Democrats. Earlier hearings by the House Intelligence Committee did not invite 45 or his team. These hearings were like the investigative phase of criminal cases conducted without the participation of the person under investigation. The lawmakers from both parties questioned the witnesses. Several were invited at the request of Republicans in the committee. 45 complained about being shut out of that, but when the subsequent Judiciary Committee hearings were opened to his team and him, he declined ever attending. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who's a Democrat from California, has been holding up sending the articles of impeachment to the Republican-controlled Senate, which would hold a trial where 45 almost certainly will be acquitted. She said she wants more clarity about what a trial will look like before she even sends them out. On healthcare, 45 retweeting Team 45 claimed that his healthcare policy is working in part because pre-existing conditions were covered. The fact is, not really. People with pre-existing medical problems have health insurance protections because of Obama's healthcare law, which 45 is trying to dismantle. One of 45's major alternatives to Obama's law, short-term health insurance, doesn't have to cover pre-existing conditions. Meanwhile, his administration has been pressing in court for full repeal of the Obama-era law, including provisions that protect people with pre-existing conditions from health insurance discrimination. Republicans say they put new protections in place, but they haven't spelled them out. With Obamacare still in place, pre-existing conditions continue to be covered by regular individual health insurance plans. Sorry. Insurers must take all applicants regardless of medical history and charge the same standard premiums to healthy people and those who had medical problems before or when they signed up. Before the Affordable Care Act, any insurer could deny coverage or charge more to anyone with a pre-existing condition who was seeking to buy an individual policy. But yet,